Removal of a SRAM BB30 bottom bracket. This is what the pedal system looks like. So you've got your Crank Brothers pedals, your SRAM press fit bearings, over on the other side, the other pedal. Don't remove this side. It says there, do not remove. Follow those instructions carefully. The tools you'll need will be some Allen keys, one of these bottom bracket bearing tool sets, which is kind of handy to smack out the bottom bracket, and a press. I have seen these done with just a bolt and some spacers or washers, but that's what I'm going to use today. The new bearing kit will come in a box that looks like that. So you want the press fit 30s from SRAM. When you pull it out the box, you have a bottom bracket, some spacers, and the instructions. As you pull the bracket out of your bike, just make sure that you note where the spacers are so that when you put the new bracket in, you can put it in the right way. So what's in this pack is you've got a spacer. Now my bike doesn't come with that, which is fine. I just won't put it in. You've got the two outside covers and some bearing seals, and those silver things in there are the bearings. This pulls apart. So you put one in on each side. That's what the inside looks like there. And that will fit together nicely inside the frame. Presses in there really well. I put a little bit of grease around the sides here just to help it slide in. So let's get this bottom bracket out. You need your 10mm Allen key. That's all you need to basically do this. What I do is I put a drop of oil just in here, because this has basically got a built-in bearing puller. So the two plates are going to push up against each other, and you'll get a cracking sound if you don't put that in. So that's the first bit, and then you'll feel it get tight again, and that's the bearing starting to be pushed apart. It does make a little bit of noise, that's okay. That's why I put the oil in first. And there it goes loose again, and now you're starting to push that bottom bracket apart, and the pedal should pop off in about 2 seconds. The first time I did that, I almost pooped myself. There you go. One part, and then you can tap here to tap your left pedal out of the bike, which I'll do now. Take the spacer off, put it in the order that it comes out of the bike. Give it a wiggle. And there is the other side of the crank. What this looks like now is you've got both sides of the crank down there. This is just a little spacer that sits on the side there. That fits together. And this is just the outside of the bearing that came from there. So what you're going to see now is basically a press fit bearing. It's a little bit wet in there because I've just washed my bike. And round to the other side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this park tool and I'm going to remove the bottom bracket with it using that and a synthetic hammer. Do not use a metal hammer on these, you'll break the bearings. So you place the pike tool into your bike like so, slide the busher right up. You'll feel that go snug into the bearing on the other side. Just make sure it's nice and tightly held there. Hold the frame and then give it a tap. And you'll feel the bearing come out the other side. This is what the bearing looks like. So it's been popped out. So you can pull that out. You'll see the tool still in there. Haven't taken that out yet. So I'm going to put that bearing down on the ground on this side so that I don't lose those pieces. I'm going to remove the tool. And I'm going to repeat the process on this side of the bike. So here's my tool. I just removed it. I'm going to place it in to that hole again. I'm going to put it in there. You'll see it sits nice and snug. You hit the back of it and it will pop your old bearing out. Over here, that's what that tool looks like in there, nice and snug against the bearing. And that'll be popped out in about 2 minutes. Right, so as you can see, this is popped out. So I just pull that out. I'm going to pop it on the ground. That's what the inside of your bike looks like without the bearing in it. So I'm going to clean that up, and then I will show you how to reinstall the new bearing. If you're going to clean up your old bearing, what you do is get something sharp. Don't take the bearings out the cup, it's too much of a mission. Get something sharp, put it underneath these little black seals here. There's one on either side. And flick those out. So there's little black seals right here. It's not really focusing too well. There we go, that's better. So where my fingernail is there's a black seal. Pop that out. Clean it up with kerosene and a paintbrush, and then you can press them back into the bike using your bearing press. Which is this tool here. So we're finished with this. You can actually use that to pop them back in. I prefer the bearing press because it puts them in nice and evenly. I'll show you that in a second. Alright, so now that we've got those bottom brackets out, what I am going to do is I'm going to show you which one it is. This is our bottom bracket system, or the bottom bracket system in my bike anyway. So you've got your crank, you've got this spacer here that came out, so it sits there. You've got your bottom bracket, which is sitting there, and you've got this SRAM spacer, which is that one there. On the other side you have your other cup, which sits there with the bearings in it, and your other little spacer, and obviously the other side of your crank. Now what I'm going to do before I put these bearings into my bike is I'm going to, this is the old bearing that we've just punched out, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove, focus on that for you, this outer plastic seal. Right there is the actual bearing. I'll focus on that for you. So right there is the bearing, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the seal off. So pop it off. Now I'm going to fast forward. I'm actually doing this on the ones I'm about to put in. So that's the bearing popped off. Now what I'm busy doing is I'm putting grease. I'm you'll see there won't be much grease inside this bearing. So what I'm going to do is I'm packing that with grease now. I use ceramic finish line grease, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the seal for the bearings, which is there, and I'm going to pop it back on. Okay. So how I've got the bearing off, or how I've got those seals off, is I've used this little tool here, basically anything that's sharp, and I've just slid it underneath the bearing, and I've lifted it up and popped it out. That's how you do it. If you do it carefully, it won't break. Alright, so those are my new bearings, fully packed with grease. Some people have only been getting about 4 months out of these bearings. I find packing them with grease and rubbing it on the outside, I'll tidy that up in a second. I've been getting about 6 to 8 months out of them, riding 4 times a week and through streams and all that sort of stuff. So that there is ready to go. I'll just put it in the bike, and then I'll set it in the bike, and then I'll show you how to press them in. So it's important to remember that the long piece goes on the drive side. Okay, so that'll slide in there, and the short piece goes on the non-drive side. Okay, so I'll put that in now. Right, so you can see the bearings sitting there in the bike. What I'm going to use now is I'm going to use this press fit tool. Okay, from Park, it's very good, great tool, well engineered. It slides off like that. So these cups here are for the bearings. I'll just put this in the bike. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up a little bit. Okay. Slide that through there carefully, and then I'm going to press this quick release, and I'm just going to basically move that to the bike. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take these, and I'm just going to go really slowly. You feel it take up on the cup. There you go. The nice thing is this pulls the water bracket into the frame evenly. So I'm just going to pull it in there nice and slowly. You feel it get tight. It's not in there yet. I just need to go up one rung on this press fit tool. So that's in there nice and tightly now. It doesn't have to be too tight, something like that. Unwind that, take the tool off, and your bottom bracket is in. Now all you need to do is put the 2 spacers on either side, one on this side, one on this side. Put your spacer that's on the drive side in, so that'll fit there, and that goes on there. And then basically assemble your bottom bracket again. So I'll walk you through that process once I've got it all set up. Right, so we're ready to assemble this crank. The bottom pedal goes in here. Make sure you put your spacer on. And the other thing that I've done is you've got this adjustment screw on the side of the non-drive on your bottom crank. So what I've done is I have loosened that off. So you just use a little think it's a 2mm. Make sure your spacer goes in there. Just put this around. Alright. Wiggle it. And come through slowly. There we go. Maybe give it a light tap. Put your spacer on. Put your cover on to the outside of your bearing there. So that'll slide in there quite nicely. You don't want too much grease on this outside component, obviously, because you just get your sand stuck in it. Put your spacer through there, like that. And make sure you get the chain on your crank. And you're done. All you have to do is screw it together. Make sure that you do not go over 48 to 54 Newton meters of torque screwing that up. Okay, so 48 to 54 Newton meters, and you're done.